Let's be honest, the most confusing place a man can be trapped isn't rejection. It's friendship that feels warmer than it should, the late replies that still come, the laughs that linger too long, the way she tells you everything yet never calls it anything. That quiet unease in your chest is not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. And tonight, I'm going to walk you through something most men never see until it's already over. I'm speaking to you as a woman who understands how attraction hides when it's not allowed to show itself. Women are taught early to soften desire, to disguise interest when it feels risky, complicated, or socially unsafe. So instead of flirting openly, attraction leaks out sideways. It disguises itself as comfort, as you're easy to talk to, as I trust you. Friendship becomes the mask, not the truth. Here's the first thing men misunderstand. When a woman truly sees you only as a friend, your presence doesn't alter her emotional state. You're neutral, comfortable, yes, safe, yes, but not activating. When she's secretly attracted, your presence changes the temperature. Conversations feel charged, even when they're about nothing. Silences don't feel empty, they feel full. Notice how she listens to you. Not politely, not casually, but with her whole body angled toward your words. She remembers small details you never thought mattered. She brings them back weeks later. That's not friendliness. That's investment. Attraction always invests before it reveals. Pay attention to when she comes to you emotionally. Not just when she's bored, but when she's overwhelmed, unsure, or shaken. Women don't bring emotional vulnerability to men they feel nothing for. They bring it to men who feel grounding, steady, and quietly desirable. If she leans on you in moments when her guard is down, that door isn't locked, it's guarded. Another subtle tell lies in her boundaries. When a woman isn't attracted, boundaries are firm and unconscious. When attraction is present but unspoken, boundaries become inconsistent. She'll allow things with you she wouldn't allow with others, then suddenly pull back. That push and pull isn't manipulation. It's internal conflict. Desire arguing with caution. Watch how she reacts to your absence. If you pull back slightly and she fills the gap, reaches out, asks questions, creates reasons to connect, that's not coincidence. Attraction hates distance. Friendship tolerates it. This is where many men panic and over-pursue. Don't. Space doesn't kill attraction. It exposes it. There's also the way she positions you in her world. She doesn't rush to label you. She keeps you undefined. Not because you don't matter, but because defining you would force a decision she's not ready to make yet. Ambiguity protects desire when timing feels wrong. I need you to understand this clearly. If she truly saw you as just a friend, none of this would feel confusing. Confusion is not a signal of disinterest. It's a signal of attraction under restraint, and restraint always leaves fingerprints. What matters now is not forcing clarity, but becoming calm enough to observe. Attraction reveals itself to men who don't chase certainty but command presence. If you stay grounded, attentive, and self-led, what she's been hiding will eventually surface without you asking. Silence, patience, and strength make truth impossible to hide. What most men misses, that attraction doesn't begin with flirting. It begins with attention that feels selective. When a woman is secretly attracted, she treats you differently in ways she doesn't even fully notice herself. Her tone softens with you. Her energy changes. She becomes more expressive, more animated, or sometimes more quiet in a way that feels intimate. That shift isn't accidental. It's her nervous system responding to you. Listen closely to how she talks about other men around you. When there's no attraction, she speaks freely, almost carelessly. When there is attraction, her words become edited. She downplays interest, exaggerates flaws, or casually mentions them in a way that feels performative. Not to impress you, but to manage how you see her. Women don't manage perception around men they feel nothing for. Another sign lives in how she seeks your validation without directly asking for it. She'll mention something she's unsure about and pause, waiting. She'll ask your opinion and actually sit with your answer. She'll change small behaviors after you comment on them. That's not friendliness. That's subconscious alignment. Attraction wants approval, not because it's needy, but because it cares. Notice how physical proximity works. She may not touch you overtly, but she finds reasons to be near, standing closer than necessary, sitting beside you even when there's space elsewhere, leaning in when she speaks, pulling away slightly, then drifting back. The body reveals what the mouth won't risk. When attraction is hidden, it speaks through distance management. There's also something important in how she reacts to your confidence. Not arrogance, not performance, but calm self-direction. When you speak about your goals, your values, your standards, does she become more attentive, more curious, slightly unsettled? Attraction responds to grounded masculinity. Friendship doesn't. If your self-respect makes her lean in emotionally, you're not invisible to her. Many men make the mistake of trying to prove themselves in this phase. They become overly available, overly helpful, overly agreeable. That feels safe, but it doesn't feel exciting. Hidden attraction doesn't need more comfort. It needs polarity. It needs you to remain centered in your own life, not orbiting hers. The moment you stop chasing clarity and start embodying certainty, the dynamic shifts. Watch what happens when you gently challenge her, not confrontationally, just by holding your perspective. If she becomes more engaged instead of defensive, that's attraction responding to strength. Women don't invest energy into impressing or persuading men they don't care about. Emotional friction is still emotional connection. Here's the quiet truth most men aren't told. If she's secretly attracted, she's already imagining scenarios she hasn't allowed herself to admit. She's already asked herself what it would be like if things changed. What stops her isn't lack of desire, it's fear of consequences, social labels, timing, loss of control. That's why patience matters more than pressure. Your job is not to corner her into a confession. Your job is to remain a man whose presence feels steady, intriguing, and self-contained. Attraction grows where there is emotional safety and masculine direction. If you can hold that space without rushing, what she's been hiding will eventually feel safer to reveal than to suppress. There's a moment that reveals more than any confession ever could. It's the moment she realizes other women notice you. When that happens, something in her shifts, not dramatically, not obviously, but subtly enough that if you're not watching, you'll miss it. Her tone changes. Her questions become sharper. She suddenly wants to know more about your life, your plans, your schedule. That isn't coincidence. That's competition awakening desire. Women don't feel urgency over men they don't value. If she's truly indifferent, your options won't register emotionally. But if attraction has been sitting quietly beneath the surface, the idea of losing access to you brings it forward. This isn't jealousy in the immature sense. It's awareness. Awareness creates clarity. Notice how she reacts when you're less available, not cold, not distant, just occupied living. If she begins to mirror your effort, initiates contact, or finds reasons to reconnect, that's not friendship trying to survive. That's attraction trying to maintain connection. Friendship respects space. Attraction negotiates it. Another revealing sign is how she tests you, not with games, but with emotional questions. She might ask what you're looking for in a woman, what you think about relationships, what your boundaries are. These aren't casual topics. They're calibration tools. She's measuring herself against your standards, quietly asking if she fits. Women don't compare themselves to men's ideals unless they care where they stand. Pay attention to how she responds to your vulnerability. If she opens up more when you share something real, something imperfect, that's not platonic bonding. That's emotional intimacy deepening. Attraction thrives on authenticity, not performance. When she feels closer after you show depth, she's not categorizing you as safe friend. She's categorizing you as someone who sees her and can be seen. There's also the way she protects the connection. She may get uncomfortable if others joke about you two. She may deflect labels while maintaining closeness. That tension is not rejection, it's hesitation. Desire often hides behind caution when the stakes feel high, especially for women who fear losing emotional safety by naming attraction too soon. Here's where men often sabotage everything. They rush, they confess feelings to relieve their own anxiety. But attraction doesn't grow under pressure, it grows under presence. The more calm you are, the more she feels free to explore what she feels without fear of consequences. Emotional leadership isn't about control, it's about steadiness. If you feel the urge to do something to change the dynamic, pause. The dynamic is already changing. Hidden attraction reveals itself through consistency over time, not dramatic moments. When she continues to choose you, invest in you, and respond to your grounded energy, the truth is unfolding. Understand this deeply. You don't need to convince a woman who is already emotionally leaning toward you. You need to avoid giving her reasons to retreat. Stay respectful, stay self-directed, stay emotionally present without being emotionally dependent. That balance is rare and it's magnetic. When a woman feels that with you, what she's been hiding becomes harder to deny than to face. And when that moment comes, it won't feel sudden. It will feel inevitable. One of the clearest signs she's secretly attracted is how she reacts when you don't chase her. Not when you disappear, not when you play games, but when you simply remain centered in yourself. You don't rush replies, you don't over-explain, you don't try to earn her attention. And suddenly, she becomes more expressive, more open, sometimes even slightly unsettled. That's because attraction expects pursuit. When it doesn't get it, it reveals itself. A woman who sees you only as a friend is comfortable with your emotional availability. She assumes it. A woman who feels more than friendship but hasn't admitted it feels the absence immediately. Your calm restraint creates space for her feelings to rise to the surface. Silence becomes loud. Distance becomes noticeable. This is not manipulation. This is emotional gravity doing its work. Watch how she responds to your boundaries when you say no casually, when you prioritize your time, when you don't bend your schedule to accommodate her last-minute needs. If she respects you more, leans in emotionally, or becomes more considerate, that's attraction responding to strength. Friendship doesn't recalibrate around boundaries. Desire does. There's also the way she mirrors you, your language, your humor, your emotional rhythm. When attraction is present, women subconsciously align with the man they're drawn to, not to impress him, but to feel closer to him. If you notice her adopting your phrases, your tone, even your pacing, that's emotional synchronization. It doesn't happen in purely platonic bonds. Another subtle indicator is how she reacts when you pull the focus back to yourself. When conversations aren't centered on her problems, her emotions, her world. If she becomes more curious about you, asks deeper questions, or encourages you to talk more, that's not boredom. That's interest asserting itself. Attraction wants mutual depth, not one-sided support. Many men misunderstand emotional support as attraction. They believe listening, helping, and being available will eventually earn desire. It won't. Emotional support without polarity creates comfort, not spark. What creates attraction is emotional presence combined with self-respect. When she feels you don't need her approval, but still value her presence, the dynamic shifts. There's a quiet moment that often gives everything away. It's when she looks at you while you're not performing for her, when you're focused on something else, talking to someone else, engaged in your purpose. If her gaze lingers, then unguarded, that's not friendship. That's admiration mixed with desire. Women don't admire men they feel neutral about. Understand this clearly. If she's secretly attracted, she's watching how you lead yourself, how you handle frustration, how you speak about others, how you move through the world. Attraction deepens when a woman feels she can trust a man's emotional direction, not because he controls her, but because he controls himself. Your power here is patience, not passive waiting, but active self-possession. The more you stay grounded, the less she can hide what she feels. Eventually, attraction demands expression, and when it does, it won't come as words first. It will come as effort, initiative, emotional openness she can no longer contain. There's a final layer most men never reach because it requires restraint, not action. It's the phase where her attraction stops being theoretical and starts becoming emotional risk. This is when her behavior grows inconsistent. Warmer one day, distant the next, more playful than suddenly guarded. Men often misread this as a loss of interest. It's usually the opposite. It's attraction colliding with fear. When a woman feels something she didn't plan to feel, especially for a man she categorized as safe, her mind looks for control. She'll test distance to see if she regains emotional balance. She'll pull back to see if you chase. She'll observe how you respond when the dynamic shifts. If you stay calm, steady, and unchanged, her respect deepens. Attraction doesn't trust men who panic. Pay attention to how she handles emotional moments with you. If she opens up and then later minimizes it, jokes about it, or pretends it didn't matter, that's not indifference. That's vulnerability hangover. She showed you something real, then felt exposed. Women don't feel exposed with men they don't care about. Another revealing sign is how she creates future references. Not plans, not commitments, just moments. We should try that. Someday. You'd love this place. This reminded me of you. These aren't invitations yet. They're emotional bookmarks. She's placing you into her future mentally before she's ready to place you there openly. Notice also how she becomes protective of your perception of her. She explains herself more, clarifies misunderstandings, cares how her actions land with you. That level of concern doesn't exist in platonic bonds. Friendship doesn't fear being misunderstood. Attraction does. At this stage, many men feel an urge to escalate verbally, to define the relationship, to ask where they stand. That urge comes from anxiety, not alignment. The truth is, if her attraction is real, it's already moving. Words won't speed it up. They'll only force her to defend herself before she's ready. What actually allows attraction to solidify is emotional safety paired with masculine certainty. You don't need to withdraw affection. You don't need to become cold. You simply need to remain consistent, warm, but not needy, present, but not dependent, interested, but not chasing outcomes. That balance tells her she can step forward without being overwhelmed. There's something deeply attractive about a man who doesn't try to extract clarity from a woman's confusion. A man who allows her to arrive at her own truth feels safe and powerful at the same time. When she senses that, her internal resistance weakens. Hidden attraction always wants permission to become visible. Not verbal permission, but emotional permission. When you don't pressure her to label things, she feels freer to feel. And feelings, when allowed, grow. Eventually, her effort will become undeniable. She'll initiate more. She'll invest more. She'll stop pulling away. Attraction can only stay hidden for so long before it demands to be lived. Here's the truth that ties everything together, and it's the part most men never hear because it requires emotional discipline instead of tactics. If she's secretly attracted to you, the deciding factor isn't whether you say the right thing. It's whether you remain the same man when nothing is guaranteed. Attraction doesn't choose men who seek reassurance. It chooses men who trust themselves enough to let things unfold. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. When you stay grounded, she leans in. When you rush, she hesitates. When you remain self-led, her curiosity deepens. This isn't accidental. Women are wired to respond to emotional leadership, not emotional urgency. Leadership isn't dominance, it's stability. It's knowing who you are without needing her to confirm it. If she's been hovering in that space between friend and something more, it's because you represent possibility without pressure. You feel safe, but not predictable, familiar, but not boring. That combination is rare, and rare things take time to be trusted, especially when attraction wasn't part of the original plan. The final sign isn't something she does. It's something she stops doing. She stops testing, stops pulling away, stops managing the connection so carefully. When attraction becomes conscious, effort becomes consistent. She shows up without excuses. She invests without hesitation. She no longer needs ambiguity to protect herself because she feels emotionally secure in your presence. This is why your role has never been to get her to like you. If she's secretly attracted, that part already happened. Your role has been to not disqualify yourself by becoming reactive, needy, or impatient. The men who lose in this phase aren't rejected. They self-sabotage by trying to control what needs space to breathe. Understand something important. A woman choosing you doesn't begin with her words. It begins with her peace around you. When she feels calm instead of conflicted, attraction stops hiding. When she feels she won't lose herself by wanting you, desire steps forward naturally. If you felt confused, uncertain, or stuck in your head about her behavior, that's not weakness. That's awareness waking up. Most men never question the dynamic. They either chase or withdraw completely. You stayed present. You observed. That already puts you ahead. Now ask yourself this honestly, and don't rush the answer. If you remove the need for her validation today, if you fully accepted that you are enough with or without her, how would you show up differently around her? That's the equation that decides everything. Man plus self-respect plus patience equals clarity. If you felt something shift while listening to this, I want to hear from you. Write your answer to that question in the comments. Not what you think sounds good, but what feels true. If this video gave you clarity you didn't have before, so more men hear this message, subscribe if you want more conversations that tell you the truth without sugarcoating it. And share this with a friend who's stuck in that confusing space and doesn't know